So, my go to market strategy is more about kind of building the relationships, building trust, creating visibility, and making it, I think, easy for the right people to say yes. I didn't really rely on some of the more traditional marketing tactics. I focus on, like I said, relationships, strategic opportunities, and really trying to address the needs that I was hearing. So, I have 5 tips for you for your go to market strategy, especially if you're thinking about creating a small consulting practice like what I have. I think the first one is really about leveraging your network and how referrals opens doors. I think one of the biggest mistakes that many entrepreneurs make is assume that they need to start from scratch. It's like they're starting this business, you need to go out and find your market, clarify things. But in reality, I think a lot of things are already there and already exist. And so, for example, I've had clients come from past colleagues or former employers, and even friends who have introduced me to the right people. One of my favorite questions to ask is, who else should I be speaking to after I conduct like an information interview or even just have a conversation with someone about my business. And that actually led to my very first client when I asked, who else should I be speaking to? And a friend of mine said, oh, you need to speak with this executive director of this nonprofit. So I think the tip really is that your network is your first kind of marketplace. It's your first place you should look, and instead of chasing kind of cold leads or focusing on places that you haven't really explored, look at what already exists, your existing relationships, and turn those into kind of referral engines, if you will. Okay, the second tip is about offering value and thought leadership. Again, as a consulting practice that offers professional services to schools and to nonprofits, most of my business comes from visibility. People seeing me speak, reading something I wrote, or coming across my name in a space that they trust. So, one of my biggest early wins, again, came from a speaking engagement that wasn't even about selling. It was really about sharing insights. And after the talk, people came up and wanted to, understand more of what I was offering. So for you, I think the tip is that your audience needs to see that you're a trusted expert before they hire you. So create ways to gain some visibility, sharing your really valuable thoughts and insights, whether it's like speaking or writing or even just attending events, right? Okay, the third tip is really saying yes to strategic opportunities, even ones that maybe sometimes it's not so obvious that they will actually pay off in the end. So early in my business, I said yes to working with a school. I wasn't thinking about business growth at the time. I really was just trying to, test things out and do things and work on my first offering. And I realized that the school was actually a beacon of innovation for a lot of other schools in the area. And so when other people heard about the work that I did with this school, that became kind of almost like channels or avenues of that fed into potential clients for the future, right? So I think the tip here is that sometimes your best market entry strategy isn't a sales pitch. It's more about being in the right room, and it's about looking for opportunities that position you in front of really like the key decision makers, even if that payoff isn't the most obvious. Okay. The fourth tip, which I learned a little late, is make it easy for people to buy. So, I think for many of us, we become entrepreneurs because we want to put something into the world that doesn't exist, right? Or we have an idea of a better way to do things. But sometimes we're not very clear, or we use words that people don't exactly associate with the thing, right? We make up words, right? Or we make up frameworks, we make up ideas for the concept that we're trying to sell. And when I realized that, you know, even if someone was interested in what I was doing, spending 20, 30 minutes trying to tell them what it was I was doing and my offering wasn't clear, made it hard for them to say yes. So when I simplified my process, having clear services, also using language like strategic planning, like leadership development, right? Using language that clients understood, they started saying yes faster. So the tip for you is just really be clear. Clarity converts. If clients have to work to understand kind of what you do or how to engage, they'll hesitate and make the next step kind of obvious and effortless for them. Okay, finally, the last tip is looking for patterns and adjusting. My original business model looked very different from what I do now. I adjusted based on kind of what clients were actually asking for, and where they hesitated, I would ask for feedback, right? I think one little shift in messaging can make a massive difference in how people respond to your work. I gave the example of just saying, I do strategic planning. Even though the way I did it and what I really thought I was doing was slightly different, I was like, I do strategic planning, I do strategy. And that really made it so much more relatable and connected for people. So really, it's about understanding patterns, looking at patterns, using words that clients understand. So the tip for you is, just shifting with kind of the market needs and paying attention to kind of client feedback, pay attention to what's coming up and common objections. I think your offering will evolve over time, and refining it is just part of the process. Okay, so I think just a closing thought, which is, a strong go to market strategy isn't about trying to sell to everyone. It's really about positioning yourself where the right clients see you, trust you, and say yes with ease. So focus on relationship, visibility, and clarity, and then I think you'll be on your way to building a successful business, especially if you're looking to build a consulting business like mine.